Hi everyone. I was looking at a Facebook page yesterday afternoon. It's actually a group, shortwave radio station listening. There's several hundred members, and I noticed a post from Thomas Witherspoon of SWLing Post fame. Now, one of his subscribers had posted that he'd noticed that Radio Australia had been off shortwave for the past week. In fact, it was Mike Nikolic who actually commented on SWLing Post that he hadn't heard their transmission for a few days, and he had written an email to Radio Australia, reception.advice@abc.net.au, and they had thanked him for his correspondence and stated that they're currently working with their transmission provider on a number of shutdowns over the past week, and again over the next week to investigate some technical and commercial issues for the service. But in the meantime, they can still be heard on satellite and FM, and of course online. So I don't think anybody actually really knows what the issue is with Radio Australia. They're certainly one of the stations that I listen to, and I know that in North America they're a morning staple of news and programming on 9580 kilohertz. Now I can remember being out in the woods last year, sort of late one afternoon, and recording an almost perfect signal from Radio Australia on my Sony ICF SW55, and being very excited about it, and actually submitting it to Thomas for posting on his blog, which he kindly did. And you know, those moments mean a lot, you know, when you're a shortwave listener or DXer kind of just starting out after, you know, many years. But the issue is that in contacting Radio Australia and asking them why they're not on shortwave at the moment via the internet, in a way you're saying, well, I want to hear you on shortwave, so I'm going to message you via the internet, and your argument might be, well, if you have internet access to message us, then you have internet access to our content via streaming. So, you know, in my own mind, that there is a slight conflict there, but I think ultimately it can't do any harm sending ABC Radio Australia an email and just asking why they're not on air, the fact that you're missing their programming, etc. And if many of us do that, you know, then at least they know that there are, you know, a lot of people out there listening to them on shortwave. I know they're one of the most popular shortwave stations. Now you can actually message them from their website, which is radioaustralia.net.au/international radio, and if you click the About Us tab and then contact us, you can contact them via a form. I'm just doing that now. Next, and you can contact them that way. Alternatively, you can contact them via their email, which I'll include at the end, and then you guys, if you want to, you can pause the video and make a note of it. But I certainly wouldn't want to see Radio Australia off air permanently. Whether we, as a group of hardcore DXers, shortwave listeners, whatever we want to call ourselves, whether we mean enough to Radio Australia, you know, whether we could influence any decision that might be made, or a permanent decision that might be made in the future, you know, it's difficult to see, because ultimately it is a numbers game and it's the global audience that counts, and we're just a small subset of that. But I don't actually think it will do any harm, and for that reason alone, I think that as many of us as possible should write to Radio Australia and just tell them that we are listening and that we do miss their transmissions. So that's my to Penrith. The email address is reception.advice@abc.net.au. I've already written to them. I think that we should all do that. And whilst we're talking about Radio Australia, let's spare a thought for All India Radio. Even Reach Beyond Australia, HCJB. I saw a comment on the internet last night from Frank, one of the team who works with Klaus and Harry, who said, maybe we should be writing to them as well. I know that their religious content isn't perhaps to everyone's taste, but the bottom line is they're out there broadcasting internationally from Australia, and maybe that's part of the problem with ABC, is that some time ago they changed their output from as an international broadcaster to effectively a relay for ABC's kind of internal network, which I personally still find very interesting, but that might have had an effect on their global audience. But either way, I think all of us should try and take the time to write to the shortwave stations that we enjoy listening to, and just let them know periodically that we are still out there and we are still listening, and they do still mean a lot to us. So, I think it's definitely worth doing. Whether it will have any real impact or not, I think is questionable, but I don't think it will do any harm. So let's try and find the time to do it. Okay, well, thank you for watching. This is the email address. I'll leave the video running for a few more seconds. You guys can pause, and if you don't have the email address already, make a note of it. Thanks very much.